Dr. Pillai, could you please teach about the secret practices that the yogis used in order to activate different parts of the brain with phonemes or mantras?
Well, the yogis were interested in manifestation precisely, how to manifest things. Initially, when you go into the history of the Hindu practices, these meditations were used for materialistic purposes up until Buddha came, and then he changed the scenario, and then the confusion began in understanding meditation as an ascetic practice. And that, of course, is found in the tradition 100 years before the Buddha. But then it was not predominant. But it's the Buddha who did not believe in God or believe in soul began to practice meditation for just achieving emptiness, And it was interesting to listen to Dr. Newberg about the atheist brain. And the Buddha's brain was an atheist brain because he did not believe in God. He did not believe in a soul. But then he believed in emptiness. And what really happened in the Buddha's case is that he had to leave his wife, his newborn son, and then his father and the kingdom. And in search of something totally spiritual and then otherworldly, and that's why he has to take to the ascetic tradition. Although it is part of the Hindu tradition too, but the true Hindu tradition, to begin with, as far as we can go back into history, is that the meditation was really a creative process. They wanted to increase creativity and productivity. And this is the theory. The theory is how creation is just thinking. How do you create? You just create by thinking. If you don't think, you don't create. Even psychologically speaking, you have to think in order to create an image or a concept. So thinking is essential for creation. And what after all is thinking? Thinking is the use of language. But language is, is a complex process. And then, and if you go to the roots of the language, and then you just boil it down or narrow it down to words, and you further narrow it down to syllables, and then further down into vowels and consonants, which I call as phonemes. So the phonemes of vowels and consonants carry the creative secret, the secret of creation, which is also the secret of knowing. Knowing and creation are not two different things. They are both one and the same. So they wanted to use these fundamental units called the phonemes in order to create. So for them to go and give a long speech is unnecessary. What you need to create, or what you need to do, is to understand the phonemes which carry the creative energy. And if you go on doing it over and over again, and then not thinking other thoughts, then you will be able to create. So look at the classical definition of meditation as given by Patanjali, who is an authority on meditation, who is the author of the Yoga Sutras. He says, Ekatanata dhyanam, tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. Dhyanam means meditation. It's not a good translation, but it's still could work. So when you focus attention on the concept uninterruptedly, in a way, and keep the idea in a very subtle way, and that is meditation. So what happens at that time? The idea and the object collapse, because by yogic tradition, the idea and the object are the same. And then what makes the difference is the state of consciousness which we live in. If we live in a higher state of consciousness beyond the sensory perceptions, then to speak the idea is to create it. You know, this is common. It is not only found in this tradition, but also in the Greek tradition, and more in the Jewish tradition as revealed by Kabbalah. Because in Abraham wanted to create a goat for sacrifice to Yahweh, what he did was he spoke and then he created. In the Bible also you find the tradition. You speak, God created the world by through speech. God said, let there be light, and then light was there. So it's the creation is done through sound waves. And then to talk in discursive or think in discursive language, conceptual language, and then to complicate the situation is only a later development. That's why yogis do not want to get involved in a lengthy discussion. All that they want is just one syllable, and one syllable will represent the ultimate power, the ultimate productivity and creativity. You know, when I was talking to Dr. Eben Alexander, when he wrote the bestseller called the Proof of Heaven, he says that he went there, to heaven, and then he said God was Om. And it was very amazing for a man who had no training whatsoever in the yogic tradition to come up with the definition of God as Om. And I asked him, how did he know that Om is God? Because this is exactly what Patanjali, the father of yoga, says: God is Om. And that Om is 3 syllables: A, U, and Ma. Create Om. And he said, I knew it because I was not in my mind, but that was the truth that I found out. And I said, do you know what Om means? He said, I don't know. Because there is tremendous amount of literature on Om, why it represents God. God means the omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence in this context. So all these things can be acquired when you understand the phonemes, because there is so much potency, so much intelligence packed into the syllables or even the vowels. And if you can just only engage your consciousness, thinking about it, ruling out all other, negating all other thoughts, then you get the most creativity. This is the best meditation that I personally practice, and I recommend for people too. And this is also behind the mantras. The mantras, are packets of intelligence and energy. So they are called Bija. Bija means the seed. Just as the seed carries the tree, and we don't see the tree inside the seed. The mantra is called the seed because it hides the tree unless you just until you plant it and see it grow. So this is called bija, the seed words or the seed sounds. So you work on the seed sounds over and over and over and over and over again, and then you pick up the powers. And there are sounds that carry different potentials or intelligence. For instance, there is a sound like these are some of the sounds that are being used by various organizations teaching meditation all over the world, like Aim or Aing, that gives intelligence. And there's a lot of research available on these sounds, like Shreem, that produces material wealth, and also research available. The transcendental meditation people have done as many as about 600, 700 research on these sounds. So if so the bottom line is the sounds carry intelligence. The sounds carry the ability to produce matter as well. So when you can get knowledge, and also you can get the potency to create something. So that is really the purpose of meditation. But what happened nowadays, or at least in the West and also now in the East also, people meditate because it gives you mental health or relaxation or stress reduction. But that is not really uh, the true purpose of meditation. The true purpose of meditation is how can you become the Superman. The yogi wants to become a Superman. And how can he do that? By understanding where the highest intelligence lies. The highest intelligence lies in Om sound, which carries the sounds A, O, and Ma. And even within a few minutes of practice of this sound, I can give you practice for less than uh, a minute or even 30 seconds. You will be able to uh, see the results uh, personally. And we have also done some research. Dr. Gautam was involved in that research, and which I was very excited about it. I wanted to continue more with the research, which I did with the Brain Science International in San Francisco. These are some of the phonemes that I have identified for use by students, and then we have in India 83 centers, and also in Mexico we have some centers, in the US also we are doing it now. Even for a few minutes, if they use these phonemes, there are tremendous amount of benefit that take place within the brain. The Brain Science International Research EEG results show that there is activity in the anterior cingulate, and Dr. Newberg talks about that one neurons, special neurons in the anterior cingulate that creates compassion, and we are able to activate that part, in 1 or 2 minutes meditations. This is very encouraging for us to do this meditation, because these people who practice this meditation, they become very calm, very collected. They love people. So it also promotes social behavior, besides giving them ability to comprehend. Because in 83 centers we have in India, over 3,000 people, we have had tremendous amount of success. So now I am going to give you maybe less than a minute of the practice with one simple syllable. In this case, the sound ah. This is the sound that I gave to Wayne Dyer, and I asked him about maybe 15 years ago, and I told him, I want you to experiment this ah sound. Instead of going and giving a 3-hour talk, why don't you just ask them to meditate 10 minutes? And then he did take it, I told him to practice it for a month, and after that, if you find it very valuable, take it to the world. He's a popular uh, uh, speaker in the United States, and he found it, and then very useful. And then he himself started teaching it, and then he wrote a book called "Manifest Your Destiny." You manifest your destiny, not allow the destiny to run its course, but you manifest yours. And that book he dedicated to me, and that book also talks about the sound ah. That's the sound that I'm going to give you. But the practice is a little different than the practice I gave him, because now I have also grown, then I have found a better way of using the sound ah from the one that I gave to Wayne Dyer. So let's close our eyes for a minute. Focus attention on your right eye. Visualize a bright white light, a beam of light piercing through your right eye. and intone the sound ah. The light now shoots into your left brain. A beam of light from the right eye is shooting into the left brain, and the whole left brain. And then use the sound ah again. Ah in the left brain. Ah. The whole of the left brain is filled with the sound ah. Feel it. Now you can relax and slowly open your eyes. Slowly open your eyes. I think that was a minute or less than a minute. You can see that within this 1 minute, you are able to produce, at least psychologically speaking, a state of rest. But that what happens in the brain, we have some research, and then we have to do a lot of research, and we are engaged in doing that. There are many medical schools in India. They have come forward to do work with me, and by yogic understanding, is associated with superintelligence, and it is also a creative sound. And it is just a vowel which is found in every language. It has nothing to do with any religion or any dogma, but simply a vowel. But the yogis, the yoga, as some of you would know, is an atheistic tradition too. It's not a theistic tradition. They didn't believe in a god as with any anthropomorphic forms, but only in terms of sound waves. Yes, they said this is God, which is in terms of superintelligence, and the R sound is associated with superintelligence. And the yogis say there are some 33 powers within the sounds that get activated through the use of these sounds. So I hope that the future research will reveal more about these sounds, and then once these sounds are proven, and which I'm going to be doing the rest of my life to make it available to the people. I'm more interested in working with the students, so that they can they can develop higher intelligence, and then better comprehension and so forth. What is more important is, Dr. Newberg was talking about the atheist brain versus the theist brain. And I can think when he was talking about it, and I was thinking about the Buddha precisely, because the Buddha was an atheist. And then whatever concept he has, his concept was emptiness. Emptiness is the reality. Nothing else is the reality. then, if you think that as a reality, then you create everything. Then you can't be in the kingdom and rule the kingdom. So what you think is very, very important. So your ideology is very important. That decides your experience. That is going to shape up your brain. Okay? So to think about God, again, to go back to the definition of God, God is an English word. There is no problem when you use a Sanskrit word for God. God, the equivalent of God in is Deva. Deva means a shiny being, invisible to human eyes. So that becomes easy for people to understand. So if you contemplate on it, then the brain certainly will represent, well, this is the God of education. Okay? And then they begin to, the neurons begin to, a reality, adjusted itself that reality. So it becomes very interesting that what you contemplate, what you think about, whether it is atheism or agnosticism or devotion, it's going to change your neurons too. So we have to be very careful about what we think. That is what the research is showing. But more importantly, the yogis is the phoneme. Jnana adhishtanam matrikaha. This is the Shiva Sutra. It says, where is intelligence? This is in the sound waves. Matrika. And this is, you find this verbatim repeated in the Kabbalah. That currently interested in learning Hebrew and Kabbalah and the Torah, and I find them very, very fascinating. So that's all I had to say, and I'm running out. So I'm very happy that Dr. Newberg and Dr. Bernard and Dr. Gautam could participate in this presentation, and I hope that people have been who are listening to it are benefited by this show, and we will do the similar shows more and more in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Pillai and guests, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. We'll be led to ongoing conversations with Dr. Pillai and guests who can help us bridge the gap between science and religion. Because truly it's the merger of science and religion, hope for humanity to achieve new frontiers in human evolution. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thank you.